Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the channel Shelly's Millions. In today's video, we are going to look at the possibility of Trump tariff stimulus checks. They are not guaranteed yet. I just want to say that before anybody gets their hopes up. But he did mention that he wants to issue a stimulus check to offset the cost of goods increase that we're going to experience because of the tariffs. And I just said going as if we hadn't already started to experience price increases because of tariffs. But I know I code invoices at my job, and something that we carry has a specific line item that says tariffs. So tariffs are definitely already there's no question that that's what it is. It's not like, my price went up like $5. Is this because of the tariffs, or is this, just inflation, or um there's no question because it's literally a line item that's charged as tariffs. So my business is starting to see that. Good morning, Samuel. So that's starting to hit at the place that I work. So I don't anticipate that going down anytime soon. I have a coworker who's going to be buying a couch, and I guess either the leather is made in Canada or something about the couch is made in Canada. And he's like, Shelly, should I wait to buy this couch? Should I get it now? And I was like, you should probably get it now. Okay. So I've seen some people mention specific amounts on the Trump tariff stimulus check. I did not see a specific amount. And again, here's the thing about my channel. Am I excited about the potential of free money? Free money? Yes, absolutely. Um, but it's not guaranteed yet, right? It's just something that's been mentioned that he wants to do. Like, it could be mentioned that he wants to take a flight into space. That does not necessarily mean it's going to happen. So I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, right? As much as mine are up as well. It's not happening until it's in writing, right? And then normally it's gonna have to pass both chambers of commerce Congress, and then be signed off by the president. So we're a long way off from that happening. I absolutely am in favor of it. It would benefit me. Um, Outside of actually seeing at my business line items that are due to tariffs, like definitely my dollar isn't stretching as far for whatever the reason is, and a stimulus check would help that. There are going to, if it passes, there would it's he said for certain groups of people, up to a certain amount of money is what's been indicated. So not everyone would qualify, and or it would phase out at higher income levels. Okay. Andrew says, "How are you? I went looking for a new car just for fun." I almost did that the other day. I passed a a car dealership and I almost stopped. You just don't want a car payment again. So you ended up just looking at the Lexus RCF that you like. It's $120,000 too much. So you keep your older Lexus. All right, good idea. Good morning, Richard. And it's interesting because Trump also said that if he issues the stimulus checks to offset the tariffs, that it would come from all the money that the US is getting by charging the tariffs. So that's where the money's supposed to come from. But I'm always a little bit nervous about free money, right? Like I would rather just have lower prices. It's interesting because I think that a lot of people, for example, a lot of people are really excited about their tax refund. And it is nice to have a big chunk of money, but I'm not sure. I think you guys do know this. If you're getting a big tax refund at the end of the year, it means that you overpaid. You gave the government too much money in taxes. So let's do a real um, low income people will not get this stimulus. All right, let's see. And Cindy's saying, I wonder what the income limitations on the stimulus check will be. I'm sick of the limitations. You get penalized for working long hours. I'm yeah, I guess me too, right? Because like definitely the money would help me. But if it's really just for very low income earners, and see, Richard's saying that low income people would not get the stimulus. So it's probably based on taxes. Joel, I have another question for you about cars. Sometimes you like to walk into car dealerships just to look at the models that are out and available, something to admire as a car enthusiast. Yes. Okay, what was my question? Oh, it was about this oil pan again. Sorry, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Sometimes we switch gears, but I will circle back. And if there's something else that you would like to cover in the chat, just let me know and we can switch gears. Joel's a mechanic. He's a longtime viewer. And I have trouble allegedly with my oil pan. Which I'm still not seeing any oil. I did finally check my oil. It looks good. But also, number 3, wouldn't my oil light come on if I was getting low on oil? And it never has. I don't know. I'm gonna have them look at it again. I picked up my phone. What was I gonna look at? I don't know. We're gonna look at the let's try and figure out this tariff article. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Again, the tariffs are not guaranteed, right? The tariffs are guaranteed. The tariff stimulus checks are not guaranteed. They are talking about them, which is good. So, and again, I was also talking about I know I had the phone to use the calculator later. Okay, so let's say that you get $1,200 back in taxes at the end of the year. Okay, that basically means that you gave the government an interest-free loan. And a lot of people are like, man, I don't care about an interest-free loan because I'm getting it back at the end of the year. Okay, but in a high interest savings account, and it's not going to be a huge amount of money, but over a year, with a $1,200 refund, you could have had an extra $48. So for me, that's actually a little bit more than a tank of gas. That's like a tank of gas and a fast food meal. So I actually I try to hit it dead even, but you can't always. So by getting a $1,200 tax refund, you could have, if you would have had the money in a high yield savings account, my phone is really dirty. You guys could have had $1,248 back. Or not back, but like if you would have saved in a high yield savings account the $1,200 that you got back, you could have had an additional $48. So when you're getting a tax refund, okay, now they say that 8% is the average on like an ETF or an index fund or the stock market. Right now, be careful I'm not necessarily recommending that. I'm not a financial advisor, but let's say you get that same $1,200 back from the IRS at the end of the year and 8% back over the year is going to be $96. So now, you're not guaranteed that the stocks will go up, but that's the hope, right? Or the index funds or the ETFs. So you could be missing out on an extra $100 because you're getting the tax refund. Now, some people, if you had that money, this used to be my situation. If I had that money in my pocket, I wasn't going to invest it. I probably would have spent it. Once I have that money within my reach, it's it's very tempting to spend, right? I get that. Or you have like an expense. Also, you don't want to really be putting that money in savings if you still have credit card debt. Ooh, let's do that for fun, right? Okay. $1,200 in a credit card payment. Credit cards charge you like 25% interest, like 24.99. So if you are carrying debt on your credit card, you could have saved yourself $288 in interest by paying that down. So on the low end, when you're getting a $1,200 tax refund, that means that you overpaid the government $1,200 too much in taxes. And if you put that in a high yield savings account, you're missing out on $50 approximately. If you put that money in the stock market, in an ETF, in an index fund, the average return is about 8%. So in that scenario, you're missing out on almost $100. And if you just need to be using that money to pay off your credit card debt where you're carrying a balance faster, and that's at a 24% interest rate, you're missing out on $288. So you just want to be careful with that. With that said, I just said that myself included, if that money was in my hands, I wouldn't necessarily save it. I would use it to pay off high interest debt, and that's why I'm debt free today. But a lot of times, if because $1,200, about $100 extra a month. So when you break it down monthly, it's not life changing money. Um, But when you get $1,200 a month at once in the form of a tax refund, you can do something with that money, right? You can see a measurable change, whereas $100 extra in your pocket each month, it's real easy to go out to dinner with your friends. Maybe instead of baking them a cake for their birthday, you go and you buy a store-bought cake. Little lifestyle creeps, right? Can affect that. Okay. So I would rather my whole point in saying that is I would rather just not have the higher prices. I would just rather have more money in my pocket that then I can invest. I would rather my expenses not go up in the form of tariffs to begin with, right? Um, but with that said, I know that a lot of people, they do like that money back in one large chunk. And just to be clear, probably what I would do with that money, I have shared this in the past. Right now, with high yield savings account, the one my money is in gives me 4% back. I would probably just do that. Even though you're supposed to average 8% back in the stock market, even with ETFs, sometimes I haven't. So I would probably just put that money into a high yield savings account and I would get the interest back. So that's what I would do with mine. I'm very fortunate that right now I don't have really many bills. Okay, Joel says, you feel like you sometimes, nobody said that comment. To look at the cars as a enthusiast. Okay, Joel says, your oil pressure light will come on only if you're really low on oil, like low. I know some cars like Andrew's Lexus has a low oil indicator, which is a luxury feature that warns you if you're a quart low. Michael says, hello. Yes, it has been a while. Good to see you. Okay. Richard says, all Americans should get the Trump stimulus. We can all use it. I'm gonna disagree with you. I think that the ultra wealthy, like, right, you guys all know that I used to watch I still watch Graham Stephan's channel a lot. He's a multimillionaire. Multimillionaires and billionaires, this isn't gonna change their life. Even for me, I could use it, right? I would love to have, like, more cushion in my savings account, but I would be okay if I didn't get it. I don't wanna pay more in tariffs, but I would be okay. Um, that kind of money to somebody with a family can it can mean the difference between whether they can afford childcare or not. It can mean the difference between, like, the moms and the dads eating and not just feeding the kids. It can mean the difference between, um, like, being able to afford a new pair of shoes if yours are really wearing out, and you need new work shoes, you know? Like, it actually can really help some people, and it can offset, like, the toilet paper, like, with things going up. Okay, Joel says that his high yield savings account, he's making about $50 a month, which is not bad. So an extra 600 a year is pretty cool unless interest rates fall. Yes. I'm at 4%. I have a little bit less than $20,000 in my high yield savings account. I'm getting so far this month. We still have a few days to go. I'm gonna just share my screenshot. And then I'm gonna pull up an article. Actually, I'll do a couple screenshots about where I am budget-wise. Oops. See here. Okay. My phone is really dirty today, guys. Okay, so buying power is how much money I have in the high yield savings account. So that's $17,653.79. I'm earning 4% annual percentage rate. And so far this month, I've earned $54.76. And you can tell my lifetime interest is $546.71. And I think I opened the account in August of last year. So it's been almost a year. The amount I've had in my savings account has fluctuated, so has my interest. Okay, tariffs only hurt Americans. Yes. Well, I'm not going to say yes. There is a really good video by Andre Gique. Hang on, I'm going to look at the video and I'm going to try and link to it because the way he explains it, like I totally get the logic behind tariffs to try and actually like better things. Hang on. Let's go to YouTube, but not Studio. Where's just YouTube. Okay, my computer's gonna go slow now. Ooh, why doesn't normally go slow? Okay. Andre Gique. So it's Andre REI Gique JIKH tariff. Let's see if I can get that video link. This is from 6 months ago. Trump's new tariffs. That's none of this. America's trade war. I think it's this one. You can tell that red line at the bottom means that I have no, I think it's this one. The tariffs just broke this. No, I think it's this one. America's Trade War Explained. We're going to copy that link. I'm going to drop it in the chat. I think it'll let me. I might have links blocked. That's the link. I'm not sure if you guys can check it. But anyway, Andre Gique, his video on tariffs, I think, explains like the goal really, really well. So check that video out. Okay, now stimulus checks 2025. I should have said that. Okay. I don't know if I want to do the Fox one. Okay, who qualifies for the 2025 stimulus check? Wait, what is this? Okay. Well, there will be a fourth stimulus check. Okay. I generally I read the Fortune article, but I don't know who PMR scholars are. YouTube, blind to billionaire. Axios, Trump floats. Okay, the Economic Times. Wait, what? 1390 in August. What? Let's read about this. I don't know anything about this. Okay, hold on. Did I miss an entire stimulus check? That doesn't seem like me, but maybe. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna take a sip of coffee. That means you guys like the video. Okay. Millions of Americans are closely watching updates on the $1,390 stimulus payout in August as economic uncertainty stretches into the second half of the year. The stimulus payment is part of a federal relief plan, which is aimed at low and middle income households which are struggling with everyday expenses like food, rent, and utility bills. Under this scheme, eligible citizens will be provided a one-time stimulus check of $1,390. This assistance has been designed keeping in mind those who are struggling with rent, ration, medicine, and other essential expenses. I don't know. Okay, we're just going to keep reading. Is this a oh, no, this is like the indiatimes.com. Okay, we gotta find a different publication. So this is not the article that I found right now is not the tariff one that they're talking about. Oops, hang on a second. Okay, for economic impact payments. Is this happening and I totally missed it? Economic income payment, economic stimulus checks. Okay. IRS.gov. Okay. You know, I like a .gov site. Okay. Let me make sure that you guys don't have questions. Okay. Richard says, what is the dollar amount of the Trump stimulus check? We'll look that up next. Family Dollar says, my cousin, who's an economist, says stimulus is always a bad idea. It causes more inflation later down the line. Good feeling when you get it, not 3 years from now, however. Okay, licorice camo, cute name. Not necessarily. That's something that I want to be very clear about on the channel. So Trump is talking about, doesn't mean it's going to happen, a stimulus check that comes back to Americans to offset some of the tariffs. But now I'm looking at, I've switched off that and we're looking at the economic impact payment. I'm on the IRS. Okay. This looks like it's just for claiming unclaimed old stimulus checks if you didn't get them before. Okay, so that appears to be what that is about. The economic income payments. Unclaimed stimulus payments is what it says. Latest news on the 2021 recovery rebate credit. IRS announces special payments going this month to 1 million taxpayers who did not claim the 2021 recovery rebate credit. Encourages non-filers about approaching deadline to claim credits. Okay, I did hear about this, but I think most of my audience got their checks. 1 million people is a lot, but like not in comparison to the U.S. population. Okay, so no new economic payment according to the irs.gov. So that's just if you didn't get it before, if you didn't claim it, that's who would be getting it. Okay, so we're just back to the stimulus tariffs. Stimulus check 2025. So again, okay. Do we want to go from the live now from Fox? Okay. I don't know what PRM. I'm trying to find. Okay. I'm trying to find like a reputable source. Fox News definitely skews very far right. And again, he's just talking about it, right? Trump tariff stimulus. Trump stimulus checks. Okay. We're just going to do this one. I'm going to do the CNBC article. And see, even here, it's worded very loosely. He's floating the idea of a tariff rebate for consumers. But then right there in the headline, that could be a challenge, right? So nothing for sure. So, you know, what's the saying? Don't count your chickens before they're hatched. This article is from Friday. So it's a very recent article. Lori Konish wrote it. And Kate Doré. Okay. Key points. President Donald Trump said the administration is considering a rebate for some Americans from the influx of tariff revenue. If authorized, it's unclear whether the rebate could come as a stimulus check or another form of tax relief. U.S. custom duties totaled roughly $27 billion for June, which was a 301% gain from the previous year. But the rebate idea could face financial challenges, experts say. President Donald Trump said the administration is considering. So he's not even saying, like, yeah, it's for sure. He's saying they're considering it. He's floating the idea, we're just considering it. So just, take it with a grain of salt until basically, like, take it with a grain of salt until it hits your account, right? Okay. Considering a rebate for some consumers from revenue raised by higher tariffs on U.S. trade partners. When asked by a reporter on Friday at the White House about a possible rebate for Americans from tariff revenue, Trump said, "We're thinking about that. We have so much money coming in. We're thinking about a little rebate." Well, I would love a little rebate. The big thing we want to do is pay down debt, but we're thinking about a rebate. A little rebate for people of a certain income level might be very nice. Yes, it might. It's unclear whether a rebate could happen without congressional approval. If enacted, it's unknown whether the rebate would come via stimulus checks or another form of tax relief. Well, what would the other form of tax relief be? Maybe just like a deduction on your taxes? I would probably prefer a stimulus check. I would prefer it whatever the fastest way is because again, I want to invest it and I want to try and grow it. So if it happened, I would want to get it as fast as possible so it could start earning interest or being invested sooner. It's kind of unlikely that they would go ahead and do that, said Tax Foundation senior economist Alex Durante. But I wouldn't put anything past this administration. The Treasury Department reported an unexpected surplus for June. With the boost from tariff revenue, customs duties totaled roughly $27 billion for the month, compared with $23 billion in May. The duties reflect a 301% gain from June 2024. Something else that I want to say just from personal experience, from what I've seen, from where I work, I code the invoices, and we order something, and so we paid one amount. We agreed to pay one amount. This is like not going to be great for businesses or people or anything. We agreed to pay one amount, and then separately, like a month later, we got the bill for the tariff. Like, what if we just didn't pay that? Like, I don't know what the agreement was between my company and this vendor, but like, if we agreed to give you $50 for something and now it's costing 75, like that's not okay. And it wasn't quite that much increase, but it was a lot. Richard says, I prefer a 5K stimulus check. Me too. The bigger, the better. May Pixie. Do people really think this is going to happen? They will snowball this because they need to get all of the ICE victims off it. Um, I don't I don't know. And I do so it's almost like winning the lottery, right? I mean, maybe not quite as exciting, but it's fun to dream about what you would do with this money, right? I have a credit card that's $1,000 that I need to pay off. I've been putting off a car repair and I really need to take care of it. All of this, um, like it's nice to think about what you would do if you had an extra little cushion of cash to use, right? But I don't know if anybody really thinks it will happen. And I just want to stress there's going to be a lot of YouTube channels, even some that I like, that are like new stimulus checks 2025. Trump tariff stimulus checks are going to happen. And I just want to caution you guys really don't count it until it's in your bank account, right? Because we know that sometimes there's all sorts of problems that can come up. And I do think that in general, and something that, I would warn against on this channel is spending any money before you actually have it. Now, can you dream about what you would do or think about it? Yes, but don't actually count, don't count it as part of your budget until it actually happens. Okay. Cindy says, I wish they would use the extra money to pay down debt. Yeah, and that is what that's what's showing on this headline right now. I would prefer that the revenue was used for deficit reduction rather than just cutting checks to people. Scattershot 8 says, I prefer the 150K hush money Stormy got. EXSXPX1 says it most likely will be $200. And Richard says, I'm not convinced low income people will receive anything. And I mean, the bottom line is it's too soon to tell because even the headline of this article, Trump floats tariff rebate idea for consumers. Second, so he's floating the idea. That's very vague, right? That's no promises. He's floating the idea. Yeah, we're considering it. Like I might be considering painting my house white also. I'm floating that idea. It does not mean it's gonna happen. My neighbor's painting their house today. Um, that's what made me think of that. But like, you could float lots of ideas. Hey, I'm thinking about going to the Bahamas for vacation. Hey, do you want to go to Taco Bell for dinner? There's lots, floating an idea and executing on it. Also, it's not as easy as deciding, where to go for dinner when it's like federal funds. Okay. May says dream is correct. He spent the budget by He overspent the budget by 2 trillion a few months in office. He has cut jobs like crazy and pretend to be mad when the corporations did the same thing. There is no money. That could definitely be. Something else, you guys, I'm just going to rant for like 2 seconds. Why do they need to change the Christmas decorations with each administration? Or holiday decorations. I could see if somebody's a different religion. I can see if something's old and funky and dusty and nasty. But like, you know what? If it's not broke, don't fix it. I don't think like you should be given like a remodeling budget. Like I think something nostalgic. I think showing people like using like not to go out and like replace things with new things, that using the old things that we have until they don't work anymore. I think that would be setting a good example. Like, how are we like giving money for just like decorating the White House for Christmas? You know what I mean? Like, is it just me? Am I crazy for thinking that that's an unnecessary spending? How about the $10 million for each golf visit he does? Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some like, some spending that doesn't need to happen. Okay. Trump's rebate idea, I'm back to the article, which this is a CNBC article, and they probably lean a bit left. I didn't read the Fox News article because they lean right, but this, I believe they lean left. Trump's rebate idea comes as a chorus of lawmakers and policy experts voice concerns about the federal budget deficit. I don't think a rebate would be particularly good policy, Durante said. I would prefer the revenue was just used for deficit reduction rather than just cutting checks to people. Enacted in early July, Trump's one big, beautiful tax and spending package could add an estimated 3.4 trillion to the deficit. So it's going to make it worse. It's going to add to the deficit, according to a conventional score released by the Congressional Budget Office this week. Rebates could put upward pressure on prices. Yeah, that's what they say generally happens when you get a stimulus check. So the motivation for sending direct payments would be different than they were during the COVID pandemic, when many households were losing income or unable to work, said Joseph Rosenberg, senior fellow at the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center's Tax and Income Supports Division. Now, the federal government is imposing tariffs that will cost U.S. households, and this would be a way of helping those individuals and families, Rosenberg said. Because Congress just passed the very expensive Big Beautiful Budget and tax legislation, rebates to individuals could exacerbate the effects on the federal budget deficit, he said. The rebates would reinforce the inflationary effects of the tariffs that already exist. People will go out and spend some of that money, and that would further put upward pressure on prices and probably magnify inflationary effects. Pandemic era fiscal stimulus contributed to an increase in inflation of about 2.6 percentage points in the US, according to 2023 research from the Federal Reserve Bank. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. If you guys are enjoying the stream or just want to support the channel, please give the video a like. Okay, they're showing, this is totally hypothetical. They're showing the what past what past income limits were to get previous stimulus package. Okay. So, the CARES Act, which passed in March 27th, 2020. Individual, the rebate got 1,200. Married, they got 2,400. The income limits were 75,000 for an individual or 150 for a married couple. Phase out rate, $5 phased out for every $100 over the threshold. Recipients without children phased out at 99,000 individually and 198 for married. They also got in the CARES Act 500 per dependent. Okay, so again, the CARES Act, the individual rebate 1,200 and the income cap 75,000 with a phase out of $5 for every 100 over the threshold. I'm just going to share my personal financial situation. If this is adjusted gross income, which I believe it is, I would qualify. Adjusted gross income is your salary. Let's say this is not my salary, but I like to give you guys an example. Just so that you can see. Let's say that your salary was $80,000. And then these are not real. Okay, we can't see this. We gotta find a different color pen. This is too light. Okay, let's see here. What's that? I'm gonna use this purple one again because that was nice and dark. Okay, so your adjusted gross income, which is what they normally use for these stimulus checks, and we're just looking at what they were in the past because the past sometimes can predict the future. So, needs to be 75,000. Let's actually no, I don't know. Okay. Let's say your salary is 80,000. You actually probably would qualify for the full amount because you're not taking home this whole salary, right? If you have an 80K salary, let's even say this is not the standard deduction at all, but let's just say minus $10,000, the standard deduction. Or actually, this is not how. Sorry, I'm trying to decide how to best show you guys this. Medical expenses are going to come out of that. So let's say you pay $5,000 for healthcare expenses at your job. So that right there would take you to the 75K threshold limit. Health costs are not part of your taxable income. Your adjusted gross income comes after that. Then let's say that you contribute to the 401k. Let's say you do another 5,000 in your 401k. That's not taxed either. That does not count as part of your adjusted gross income. So then you're at $70,000. And then let's say then you get the standard deduction. And again, this is low because I'm just doing nice even numbers, but like $10,000 for your standard deduction. I want to say it's like up to 14,000. That leaves you with a $60,000 adjusted gross income. So you definitely qualify and you'd have room to, you've got $15,000 wiggle room. So that means your salary could really be up to like 95K and you would still be under that individual threshold. I always look at individual because I'm a single person with no kids. So that's the scenario that applies to me. And of course, that was just like an example, not a very good one because the numbers are not even accurate. But yeah. Okay. So back to the example. So CARES Act, the threshold was 75,000 for individual, married 150,000. Then again, the Coronavirus Relief Act, the rebate amount was 600. You also could get $600 per dependent under age 17. Again, the phase out thresholds were the same. The income limit for individuals was 75,000 and married was 150,000. It phased out, you got $5 less for every $100 over the threshold, and recipients without children completely phased out at $87,000 for individuals or $174,000 for married couples. The American Rescue Plan Act, which is from March 11th of 2021, the amount was $1,400 for individuals and $2,800 for married couples, and that's $1,400 per dependent under the age of 19 or 24 if they're a student. And the income limits were the same: $75,000 for an individual, $150,000 for a married couple. It completely phased out much faster. It phased out if your income went over 80,000, and for married couples over 160,000. So those are good numbers just to start with. I would also, I don't know if they'll do this. It would be nice if, in theory, people's salaries have increased from the year 2021 up to 2025. Inflation's gone up. So in theory, I would kind of expect that those income limits would also go up before it phased out. And again, this is just if the tariff stimulus checks were approved. And again, it's very loose language. He's considering. He's floating the idea. That does not in any way mean it's actually going to happen. So unfortunately, right now, there's no stimulus. But let me know a couple things in the comments, right? I'm just curious. Number one, have you actually seen tariffs? Have you actually seen something that straight up cost money because of tariffs? Oh, I have another example. Um, but I have another example from my personal life. I don't normally play video games, but I need to lose a little weight. And my role model, not my role model, my mantra this year is health is wealth. So I bought a game called like Ring Adventure Fit or something for like the Nintendo Switch, which I have. I don't play it very often. When I first started looking at the game before the tariffs, I want to say it was like $69.99 or something on Amazon. And I didn't buy it then. And basically, like every week, it kept going up by like $5. So I think by the time I actually bought it, it was like 94 in tax or something like that. So I wish I would have bought it, but I didn't. Also, I'm not playing it as much as I should be, so I probably shouldn't have bought it at all. But so that's gone up in my personal life, and of course, because that's coming from overseas, and then at my place of business, it's literally like we bought something, paid for it, then got a separate invoice that said tariffs. And I was like, "Oh, this sucks." We didn't plan on that when we agreed, and it was something that we could have like opted to not purchase, but we did. Richard says General Motors reported a few $1 million loss due to tariffs. Yeah, that's a little crazy. So businesses are definitely starting to see it. I think in my personal budget, outside of that video game that I know came from overseas, like, I haven't seen it. I give an example about, like, avocados, right? Avocados they're not going up that much. They're imported, the ones I get are normally from Mexico. Um, I haven't really seen a huge increase in that. But I would say that overall, the money going out of my budget, like, my money's not stretching as far. So is that due to inflation? Is it due to tariffs? Is it due to greedy corporations? Is a little bit of all of that? Probably. So, yeah. But I would love to see, even though it's not for sure happening, but would I love to see it? Absolutely. Absolutely. Or better yet, even though I linked to a video by Andre Geic earlier, where I think he explains how tariffs could actually benefit the US, right? He explains it really, really well. So after watching that video, I was like, okay, I can buy into this plan, right? I understand now at least the goal of tariffs. So it could benefit the economy, right? It could be a good long-term strategy. But sorry, I just heard a clink in the kitchen and then lost my train of thought. Um, I was saying that I think it could be a long-term strategy. I would just rather have lower prices though. I would rather not pay all of that money up front. Like I would rather than worrying if I qualify for something, is my address correct? Is my mail gonna get stolen? Um, e wondering, like, when I'm gonna receive it. I would just rather pay lower prices from the get-go, from the jump, as one of my coworkers says. Just don't charge me more to begin with. Like, that's actually what I think would benefit me more. And they're saying, like, "Oh, it would offset what consumers are paying in tariffs." But like offset isn't even, like if this gets approved, it's only going to offset like things that are going to increase. So again, it's really not going to be extra money. It's just going to make the sting of the tariffs sting a little bit less, right? Like that's the idea. May says, I would say it's greed. The American companies do not fix the problems. They just make a new model with all the same issues. People are getting tired of cars that are not reliable. Yeah. Okay. So let me know if you guys have any questions about Trump's tariff stimulus checks of 2025. We can try and look it up together. Again, it is just an idea that's being floated. Nothing is actually happening yet. I think it would be nice, but I think nicer than tariffs would be, or nicer than a tariff stimulus check would be just not having the tariff, right? Okay. Or not have figuring out a way for it not to hit my wallet, basically. All right. I wanted to look at the food stamp increase. And it's so funny because everybody still calls it food stamps, even though it's switched to the SNAP program. All right, so let's see here. Oh, look at the AI overview. In 2025, SNAP food stamp benefits will see a cost of living adjustment COLA with maximum allotments rising for most US states and territories. The increase is effective from October 1st, 2024. This is not what I wanted, I don't think. Um the maximum monthly benefit for family of 4. No, this is not the one I want. Oh boy. Okay. February 19th. Food Snap. Interesting. Where the heck? I just read about like the limits increasing. That's April 10th. This was a newer article. Like it just came out. Maybe it's just in California? How is this? Okay, well maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I dreamed that. All right, okay. I apparently can't find the article that I was hoping to reference. All right. So, and again, I'm looking at California because I live in California. Also, I know that Debbie, if she's watching, oops, why does it do this? She's going to want to know the box office grosses. What am I looking at? So we're going to look at box office grosses. We're going to change off a stimulus for a second. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the chat or any finance or budget topics that you would like me to touch on, and we will look at that. The numbers. Okay. Come on. Oh, it's gonna be Fantastic Four, of course. Da-da-da. Guys, I work at a movie theater. We've started to see tariffs on our invoices, but I am Googling like the box office gross this weekend, looking at the number one movie. It's definitely going to be the Fantastic Four. Why is my internet so slow? This is not supposed to be a thing. Okay. Fantastic Four grossed 118 million. Superman falls to the number 2 spot at 24.8 million. Jurassic World Rebirth 13 million. F1 the movie 6.2 million. This movie actually is doing really well at my theater. Smurfs 5.4 million. I Know What You Did Last Summer 5.1. How to Train Your Dragon 2.8. Eddington, that's supposed to be really good. 1.6 million. Sayara 1.4 million, and Oh Hi with 1.1 million. Okay. So that's the weekend box office, but let's go back. Let's how likely um how likely is a stimulus check? Let's look at tariff. Tariff. How likely is a tariff? Let's just look at the live, let's look at the Fox article and see if it says anything different. Richard says, I'm not holding my breath at all that I'll get a SNAP increase. Mark says the bonus comes in your own house when you pay off debt and not rely on stimulus. Yeah. And again, I am at a position where would I like extra money back in my budget? Absolutely. Would I rather just not have that money going out of my budget to begin with in the form of tariffs? Yes. And then if I got it, I would just put it in a high yield savings account. Luckily, I don't need the money. And I think like that's what I've tried at least on this live to really share that like it's not guaranteed that it's going to happen. It makes me sad because the last time that there really was a lot of stimulus in the YouTube world, I think there was like a lot of clickbait and like every week it's like it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And it's like kind of just the same video regurgitated, and it really got people's hopes up. And like as we saw in that one article, one of the stimulus was $600. And I wish that we were not in a place where so many people were that excited. Like extra money is extra money, and like it's good to be excited about it, but like maybe excited is the wrong word. There were some people that really was gonna make or break them. So they were really hanging on every word of these YouTubers, and I don't like, I know that that's what my audience wants, but I just wanna caution everybody, it's not necessarily gonna happen. You do not even get what you're supposed to. They take any income you got and times it by 30% and then subtract that from what you're supposed to get. Um May says, I have stopped spending. I only buy what I have. No choice to buy, like toilet paper. Tried to get people to use soap and water, but that did not fly. LOL. Okay. Um, let's just look really quick at the Fox article. I think that's gonna well, I don't know. Let's see. What Trump said and what we know by Megan Ziegler, and this was from yesterday on the 26th. Is today the 27th? I think so. Okay. The brief. President Trump told reporters that this week he's considering, doesn't mean it's happening, a rebate check. We have so much money coming in. We're thinking about a little rebate. But the big thing we want to do is pay down debt. The comment came 1 week before his deadline for other countries to make a deal with the US before steep tariffs would kick in. Tariff rebate checks. The backstory. Trump made the remarks Friday morning when he was speaking with reporters outside the White House before departing for Scotland. Ooh, that's a place I wanted to travel. Several asked him questions about the upcoming August 1st deadline for taxes to be imposed on dozens of countries if they haven't reached a deal with the president. What they're saying. Specifically, one reporter asked Trump, with all of that tariff revenue coming in, do you think there's the possibility of a rebate to the American public in terms of all that money? We're thinking about that actually, Trump responded. We have so much money coming in. We're thinking about a little rebate. But the big thing we want to do is pay down debt. But we're thinking about a rebate. That's a very good idea, he continued, pointing to the reporter. You just made a lot of news. And see, just like I just said with the YouTube community, could that have been an intentional question from the reporter to try and like garner all this stimulus talk? So Trump's not saying it's a very good idea necessarily. He's saying it's a very good idea to ask that question. In my how I'm interpreting it is it's a very good idea to have asked that question because they know that people want stimulus, right? They do. I do, and I don't even necessarily need it. But like, you know what? If it's available, I would like it. But I would like more my day-to-day expenses not increasing. That's what would actually be better for me personally. And I would rather have the money in my hand. And I would rather not the money not leave my hand. Okay, Richard says, I was just oh wait, what? Okay, Richard, I will change my settings. I'm so sorry. That's crazy. 4 ads during one live stream. I'll change my settings. I'm really sorry. Ah. Okay. Alex says, is it only rich people and billionaires getting a stimulus while folks like us get diddly squat? It is what you said. And then Richard is saying that he agrees. And then Alex says, I want to be, be stimulated. Me too, financially. I want it. I need it. I know. I know. It's called the Big Beautiful Bill. Okay. So I'm thinking that this comment that was just saying it's a very good idea that the reporter asked the question, you just made a lot of news because, you know, I'm going to be honest, even just titling my video this, it's more viewers than I've had in a long time. And thank you to anybody who's new. Thank you to my returning viewers. Um, yeah. So we're thinking about a rebate because we have so much money coming in from tariffs that a little rebate for people of a certain income level might be very nice. Big picture view. These are the first comments Trump has made about a possible rebate check tied to tariffs, and no other details have been released from him nor the White House. It's also unclear how much the tariffs have brought in so far or how much they're projected to bring in, while Trump and other countries are still working out trade deals. This is not the first rebate or stimulus payment that Trump has teased. And see, I don't even like the word teased. Like, don't tease the American people with money. If we're this broke, I don't know. I hate it. Okay. In February, he said he loved the idea of giving some of the savings from Elon Musk Doge cuts back to Americans in some kind of dividend. And the big picture view there, Americans haven't received stimulus checks since the COVID pandemic, and no widespread stimulus checks are pending otherwise for 2025. There's backlogged $1,400 stimulus checks available to a small number of Americans this tax filing season as part of an unclaimed rebate check dating back to the pandemic. So I actually like so far I'm kind of proud of this article. It's not saying, oh yeah, it's gonna happen. Okay, meanwhile, Trump traveled to Scotland on Friday as his family's business prepares for the August 13th opening of a new golf course in Aberdeenshire, billed as the greatest 36 holes in golf. While there, he is set to talk trade with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission president. Protesters around the country are in the streets decreeing his visit and accusing United Kingdom leaders of pandering to recent trade deals. Okay, so I actually do feel like so this is a Fox News article, and I feel like it was written, um, you know, pretty fairly. Okay, All right, guys, I think we've talked about it for an hour. So what we know is that we know that nothing's happening yet. They're just thinking about it. They're just floating the idea, just like they did float those Doge rebate check ideas. Um, well, May, it was nice to have you in today. And then Mark says you're right. Too much media gets people excited and even delusional about it, plus other headlines. Self accountability and turning off social media is much more healthy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, guys. Oh, Steve says, I live so cheap in retirement that I don't need a stimulus. Yeah, but if you had extra, would you want it? Like, so I'm watching my neighbor paint their house today. They're doing a great job. My house, oh guys, needs a coat of paint real bad. So I would love, there's always going to be a way to spend it, right? There's going to be an unexpected car repair. There's going to be um a house that needs painted. There's gonna need to be I've got plantar fasciitis now. I could spend $600 on orthopedic shoes and insoles, like yeah, I would save it also. I would save it in a high yield savings account is exactly where I'd save it. Um, I have shared with people that I have not quite got those 8% returns that they say you should in a brokerage account, stock market, ETF, index funds. So I would just put it in a high yield savings account for a rainy day. I would save it for a rainy day. Luckily, I don't have any credit card debt. Um, but sometimes you need a home repair. I just had to replace my shower head. It was not that expensive. I installed it myself. Felt very accomplished. Also unplugged my bathroom sink drain myself. But like sometimes there's going to be some emergency that I'm not able to just fix myself, and having a little extra money would be great. But not having to pay the high tariff prices to begin with would be even greater. All right, Richard says, I live cheap and I still need it. You have dental debt totaling 8K. Dental work is the worst. It really is. Um, do a little payment plan. May says, I live super cheap. I have no credit card debt, but you have student loan debt. Well, hopefully they bring back the talks about student loan debt forgiveness would be nice. All right, you guys. Happy Sunday. I really enjoyed talking with you guys this morning. Always a pleasure. Oh, Steve says, I have 2 gallons of green beans from your garden. You have more than you need. You have mad money. I love that. I love that. We grew green beans this year. We got 5. I'm having powdery mildew. I'm not good at gardening. But it's fun. All right, you guys, have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will update you whenever there's actual news on actual stimulus, which right now there's not. But here's to wishful thinking, and here's to wishful thinking that the tariffs don't actually cause our items to go up in the first place. All right, neem oil. All right, you guys, have a great rest of your Sunday. Thanks for watching Shelly's Millions. I'll see you next time.